Hi, I'm LevUNknown, lead developer of the visual novel RPG Mistwinter Bay. Today I'll be talking about one thing that all romanceable characters in Mistwinter Bay have and why I designed it like this. That thing I'm going to talk about is, of course, the personal quest. So Mistwinter Bay is a game that focuses a lot on its many characters, as well as multiple dialogue options that bring unique aspects to every playthrough. They make the game non-linear. Despite that, there aren't many dialogue options when you hang out with characters that show completely different paths. That's indicated by purple dialogue options as opposed to gold dialogue options. Purple options show that you may hear something unique in the conversation, but your relationship won't change drastically and the ending of the hangout will likely be the same no matter what you choose. Gold options in hangouts in turn only increases and decreases the character's reputation. In other words, hangouts where you get to know the characters in Mistwinter Bay are pretty linear compared to the rest of the game. Why did we design the hangouts like this when we focus so much on unique dialogue outcomes in other parts of the game? Well, it's basically a way for us to ensure that we don't work ourselves to exhaustion. It takes long enough to write and implement a semi-linear character, so it would probably take twice as long, if not longer, to make each character even less linear. Besides, we think having 38 unique characters you can hang out with more than makes up for the semi-linearness of the hangouts. Hanging out with a character is basically about getting to know them anyway, and we don't think you need 10 different ways to learn the same information. But this semi-linearness only applies to characters' hangouts. They all still have unique married life events, negative reputation events, and personal quests, which all impact your relationship with them on a large scale. With that explanation on why hangouts are the way they are, I'll finally explain to you why we decided to give each character their own so-called personal quest and what that entails. First off, why do we call it a personal quest? We wanted to call it something that made it stand out from Hangout and make it very clear that it's a different type of event, which has a bigger impact than a hangout. Quest seemed like a fitting word since the person it's about usually wants your help with something. We could have called it request or something instead, but quest is short enough to fit on the menu button. A personal quest, which is basically just a short monthly event, functions as its own self-contained story and focuses on a particular character, like Dawn or Cecil. It usually takes place between the character's third or fourth hangout, but occasionally between the fourth and fifth. The personal quest has to be completed before you can hang out with the character again. It'll get pretty obvious why in a second. Since the hangouts are semi-linear, we wanted a big chunk of story for each character that is anything but linear. So that's how the personal quest came to be. They offer almost exclusively gold dialogue options, which opens up multiple, vastly different endings to the quest. Sometimes you also get the option to send out characters, which is another core part of the game that is missing in regular hangouts. Of course, when sending out characters during a personal quest, you most likely won't get the chance to send a character whose quest you're working on. With so many options in a personal quest, the different endings to it have to be very unique. So a personal quest can make or break your relationship with a character. Not only by the choices you make in it, but also by you finding out something about them. Because the personal quest is usually when their true colors come out if they have anything to hide. You may discover things that make you completely change your opinion about the character. Options that may have seemed cruel to you before the personal quest may now seem very justified, or someone you didn't like before may seem a lot more reasonable now. So what types of endings can you expect from personal quests? It's of course unique for each character, but here are some examples. The character can start to hate you so that you can't hang out with them or give them gifts anymore. They may lose or gain reputation and still want to talk to you. They may move out or get kicked out by you. You may imprison them or even execute them. Or you may even get killed yourself somehow. Other characters, especially foreign leaders, may gain or lose quite a bit of reputation. And when I say quite a bit, I mean like 75 reputation, or even 200 depending on how good or bad of a thing you did. But it's more common that characters lose a lot of reputation than gain it. There's no right or wrong ending to personal quests, unless your goal always is to get to the next hangout, because then you'll need to keep the character alive and have them like you. But the game itself doesn't put any value into each ending. The event is completed no matter which ending you get. That will become obvious when we eventually add achievements to the game. You'll unlock a specific character's achievement no matter which ending you reach in their personal quest. And that's basically how personal quests work. But how do we go about making them, you may ask? Well, we start by mapping out the branching options. I prefer to do that in the dialogue document itself in a table, but my sister Wogglawooh seems to prefer to use more of a flowchart-like approach. When we've planned out the branching stories and the different endings, we just sit down and write. It isn't harder than that. So if you came here for actual concrete tips on how to write quests, I'm sorry. For those of you who are familiar with us and our workflow, you might be surprised and delighted to hear that Wogglawooh has started writing hangouts and so on for some of the characters. That means we'll be getting characters implemented a bit faster than if I wrote all of them myself. And that's about it. If you're curious about trying the game yourself, we have a free demo on itch.io and Steam. Wishlist the full game while you're there. It's going to be a banger, I promised you that. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.